Sup, legends. So just today's outlook, we're in a bit of an iffy spot. So if we jumped out just a little bit on the hourly here, this would be pretty similar to my weekly outlook that I gave obviously just before. We are coming from the extreme of that area, obviously starting to work our way down now, bearish with these couple of breaks. Have retraced more or less to the extreme area. We are seeing the side of that 4 hour supply zone at the moment, had that break to the downside. So the iffiness comes from the fact that obviously we're coming from this whole supply area, so sales make sense long term. We are looking like we're completing that structure cycle, obviously looking to come and take that load, but we have medium induced take of this point, obviously being a supply to demand area, and obviously that medium inducement there as well with the 15-minute valid low. So in that iffy spot, honestly, I'd like to be able to buy up through that market open gap that we've got there into that supply and potentially to induce that whole area there. So that's our next medium inducement. But obviously, we've got a lot of bearish momentum at the minute. Anything we look to be doing inside of the current Asia range, I'm not overly keen on doing that. Quite frankly, it is looking like a bit more of a low trading day today. If we can generate some liquidity underneath of us just there and work our way up into this supply, I'm happy to sell straight off the mitigation of it. If we could get something like, for example, pull our way up here, take Asia high, get some sort of like a 2-leg or something like that, just some sort of enticement of sellers off Asia high to then come up and medium reduce into that mitigation or something like that. It would definitely be a later London session set up, but I'd be happy to work with a setup like that. So we'll see what that does. We can wish for it, but it may not happen. So see what we get there. In terms of areas to buy from, like I said, we don't really have anything. That's kind of your next medium adjustment for buys. So, with this momentum we've got at the minute, yeah, I don't like our chances of it. EU just fallen off a cliff currently, so but quite frankly, it is pretty well the same exact outlook as GU, a little bit different positioning. EU's induced, more or less coming to that whole supply area there and started to work its way down, obviously with a couple of breaks to the downside there as well. So more or less confirming that continuation of bearish momentum. On lower time frames, we have induced this supply area. So anticipating this point, even though it's a really good demand, not expecting it to hold. And if it's going to be a smart money trap, this is exactly what we'd look to see from it. The inducement of these highs, so that's obviously sell off. So look, I do think we are coming to this point, like I went through in the market outlook for the week ahead. We have obviously medium induced though, startup open here. We did take the retest of that 5-minute break there or smaller 15-minute break, which has then pushed us up here. But realistically, if we actually look at it, that's just pushed us up to take that retest. So this is actually setting up to be balanced supply area. We're just not going to have anything that's so mitigated up this area here. So it's going to make it a bit. But we are obviously taking Asia low just now, so if we can pull up, right, actually don't mind this, but this area here, which is more or less like demand, just supply area. I don't want to sell off the mitigation of it, but if we can pull up here, choose this point, I'm happy to sell from there. That is going to mitigate this area as well, more or less, or really that whole area there, which is in itself a valid internal supply. I'm happy to sell from there. If we do come up here and take this and we don't manage to catch the sell and come down, this in itself is also going to be a medium inducement, so I'm happy to buy from there. So we can potentially look to ping pong it, come up, bring in these Asia low buyers, sell off the take of this, come down, hopefully TP at the low there. And then look for that buyback up. So we could be able to catch a couple of short-term positions with that. So see how that shapes up coming into the session. Just going to put that all down, see how that does. I actually don't mind that as an outlook, but obviously we've got a lot of very strong bearish momentum with this at the minute. So we may very well just sell off. I don't see any else to buy. I'm not really interested in trying to buy from down here. It just goes against the structure cycle. And like I said, I will change the color of that now. I'm not expecting that to hold, so I'm not overly keen trying to buy from there. And you can see how slow the momentum was off the back of this compared to that momentum, and then just starting to build, selling off here again now. So I don't really want to try and buy inside this range. And if we get all the way down there in London, obviously, that's a pretty decent sell off. We're going to be too far against momentum. So we'll see how that sits come into the session. But yeah, EU does look the best in the sense of selling from that high and potentially buying off the take of it. If we can get the divergence playing out here as well, it could actually work quite nicely. EU drives its way up. We may get GU driving up from here, generating that liquidity to get that mitigation at the same time as that inducement. So we'll see how that sits. Yeah, do have red folder news an hour after our session ends today, so that could make this a little bit tricky. So just bear that in mind, but see what it does come into the session.